Hi, my name is Robert,
My name is Mephi.
and we're doing the Big Five personality test.
For our psychology project, what we did is we took a personality test, one for myself, and then I took one pretending to be Robert. We've known each other since high school, since freshman year, since like 2017, 2018, and I think we've grown closer in college, so we just want to take a personality test, see where we ranked ourselves.
All right, so for the first one that pops up is neuroticism, and it refers to the tendency to experience negative feelings. So my overall score that I got for myself was a 76, and for you, I scored you at 81.
So for you, I scored you as a 64, and then I scored myself as a 78. So we both scored me as higher on neuroticism,
Yeah.
right?
Both.
Yeah.
So under the traits under neuroticism, anxiety is the first one. And for me, I scored myself a 14, and for you, I scored you a 16.
So for anxiety, I scored each other pretty closely. For you, I scored a 16, and then for me, I scored a 17.
Yeah, I think that's about accurate.
Yeah.
I think you tend to be more anxious when it comes to life in general. For anger, I scored myself a 9, and I scored you an 11.
Okay. And for anger, I scored you as a 7, and I scored myself as a 14. I think I scored myself way too high on this.
I don't think we're typically the angry type.
Yeah, we're more like the calm.
Yeah, I don't think. For self-consciousness, I scored you a 17, and I scored myself a 15.
I scored you for self-consciousness a 14, and then for myself 11.
11. You think that's accurate? I think it's accurate for me.
Yeah, I think it's pretty accurate. I think
Because self-consciousness is basically like being sensitive about what other people think about them.
yeah.
I would say I'm a little sensitive, not crazy sensitive, but
Well, you scored me higher on that one.
I did score you that one. I think you, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of iffy on that one.
Yeah. I scored myself lower than you on this one.
Okay. All right, so for the next part, extroversion, it's basically your engagement with the external world. And for my overall score, I got a 69, and for Mephi, I scored him a 66.
So for Robert, I gave him a 75, and for myself, I scored an 84 on my part.
So I think for me, I scored it pretty low for myself because I consider myself to be an introvert. I'm not very like social, but I think you over the last 2 years, I think you have definitely like gained a higher score than me on that.
Yeah, I think I'll be like more higher than
Yeah,
you.
I think you're definitely higher than me, but somehow I scored you lower.
Yeah. So for friendliness, I think we're both friendly people.
Yeah, we definitely are.
We should have scored each other the same. So I got a 14, and I gave Robert 11.
I got a 10 for me, and then I gave you a 12. So I think you are more friendly than me.
Okay. And then for the next one, we'll say activity level. I would say like now, I don't know what you think, but like I'm more like involved,
Yeah, you definitely are.
like in more stuff.
In more stuff than
Yeah.
I think like when we were in high school, I think I was more involved.
Yeah, it was the other way around.
It was the other way around.
Now in college.
Yeah.
it's flipped. So for that one, I scored a 17, and then I gave you a 13.
For that one, I got an 11 and gave you a 12. Excitement seeking, I gave myself an 8 and I gave you a 7.
Yeah, I scored myself way too high on this one. I gave myself a 16, and then for you, I gave a 9. I would definitely, thinking about it, I would score myself a bit lower on that one.
I don't know.
You don't agree?
I mean, I don't want to make it seem like I'm never get excited for anything, but
Yeah, actually thinking about it, because you're like
Yeah.
less emotional than me.
I don't know, yeah.
And that less excited about
Yeah,
stuff.
that one's tricky.
Yeah.
But for cheerfulness, I gave myself a 16 and I gave you a 14.
For cheerfulness, I gave myself a 16 and I gave you a 14.
Yeah, so kind of the other way around.
Yeah, I think I would consider myself more cheerful than you.
Yeah. I don't know.
So overall, what do you think? Like talking about it, what do you think should get a better score on this
For
one?
extroversion,
Yeah,
I
for
think. I think definitely you. Like I think over the last 2 years, I think you should have if it's based on the last 2 years, you should have a higher
Yeah.
extroversion score than me. But like,
In
if
high
we're
school.
saying since high school, I think you caught up to me.
Yeah.
All right, so for openness to experiences, basically describes a dimension of cognitive style that distinguishes imaginative, creative people who are down to earth and conventional people. My score was low. I gave myself 59, and I gave Mephi a 47.
So for this one, I scored myself pretty high. I scored myself a 72, and then for you, I gave yourself a 57. Like we said in the last part.
Yeah, I think my score for me is kind of accurate. For you, I think it would.
Probably go
For
up,
you, yeah. For you, I think it's definitely higher than a 47.
yeah.
Because like over the past few years, I think you've changed a lot. But I would say like from during our 4 years at high school, it was pretty low.
Yeah. But I mean, I would score myself pretty low on some sections.
Yeah.
Like for imagination, I would feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like you're more creative than me in some things, like this
Yeah.
project.
Some things. Yeah.
Yeah. I scored myself way too high on that one. I gave myself a 14 out of 20, and I gave you a 7.
I gave myself an 11 and I gave you a 12.
Okay.
Adventurousness, I gave myself a 9 and I gave you a 6.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say that's still pretty fair.
Yeah, I don't think I'm adventurous at all.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like for artistic interest, like I feel like we're both not into
yeah,
much of the
I'm
arts.
definitely not into
So,
none of the
and I scored
arts.
myself pretty high.
For that one.
Yeah.
I gave
myself 11.
You gave I gave myself a 9 and I gave you a 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then what'd you get for intellect?
Intellect, I gave myself a 10 and I gave you a 9.
Okay, so for you, I gave you an 8, and then for myself, I scored myself pretty high, 12. I would say we're both pretty smart people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I don't know
Yeah.
how about that one.
And then
for agreeableness, overall, I scored myself a 79 and scored you a 65.
So for agreeableness, I scored myself a 68, and you scored a 78. So we're pretty on point.
We're pretty on point with that one.
You got a 79, and I gave you a 78.
I think I tend to agree with people a lot.
Yeah, I feel like me, I always like argue.
Yeah,
and
I
I said like, nah, we're not doing that.
Yeah,
That's not for me.
Definitely. So for trust, I scored both of us a 13.
I feel like you're more trustful to people than I am.
Yeah, I definitely trust
Because I'm
people
more doubtful.
Yeah, you
about
definitely
things.
are more doubtful. For morality, I scored myself a 12 and I gave you an 11.
So me higher on that one, or you higher?
Me higher.
So for this one, I scored you higher. I gave myself a 9, and then I gave you a 10.
Okay. Cooperation, I gave myself a 16 and gave you a 15.
Yeah, we scored pretty high on this one. I gave myself a 12, then I gave you a 14.
Yeah, so I think for that one, I think we're both pretty cooperative
Yeah.
when it comes to anything. Like, I don't think we ever hold back on, like, anything we have to do or...
We both do our work.
Yeah. For sympathy, I gave myself a 12 and I gave you a 6.
A 6 for sympathy?
Yeah, bro.
I don't know. I gave myself pretty high, 11, and then I gave you a 12.
Yeah, I don't think you're sympathetic at all.
Why don't you think I'm sympathetic?
Because I don't think you feel bad for other people. I don't think, like... I don't know. I just don't think, like, you're... I don't know, like... You're compassionate, tender-hearted.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I would say you're more agreeable though, like overall.
Yeah, I definitely am more agreeable.
Okay.
For the last one, conscientiousness, I gave myself an overall score of an 87, and I gave you a 77.
Yeah, I would say we're pretty much the same on the last one and this one. So for this one, I gave you a 86, and then I gave myself a 78.
Yeah,
so we're close on
yeah,
numbers,
we're basically pretty close on
Very
that
close.
one. I would say my dutifulness for that one, I scored a 15, and I also gave you a 15.
Yeah. I think when we have something to do, we both do
Yeah,
it.
I think we're like very task oriented
Yeah.
people. Orderliness, I gave myself a 13, and I gave you an 11.
Yeah, I scored myself pretty low on this. I gave myself an 8, and then I gave you a 16.
16. I think I tend to be I like to have everything in order, neat. I don't know. I think you do too. Sometimes.
Yeah, I do too as well. But I would say sometimes I'm disorganized and I leave stuff
Yeah.
behind where I can't find something.
Yeah.
So I think you're more like in
Yeah.
that sense. Give you extra.
Achievement striving, I gave myself a 15, and I gave you a 13.
Yeah, I would say we're both like we try to achieve a lot.
Yeah.
And, like especially like right now, like with all
Yeah,
this
I think-
internship and like job searching, we're always like on top of everything.
Yeah, I think now, like, I think if I were to say like myself in high school, I don't think I was.
Yeah, I would say you would be pretty low.
Yeah, pretty low. Freshman
Yeah.
year of college too, I would be pretty low. But like, I would say from junior year and up, I think I would consider myself to be more determined and achievement striving.
I would say for school though, like in terms of grades and stuff, like you would score higher than me.
I
It
think
would
that's
be-
now.
It would be the other way around in high school.
Yeah, in high school it was the other way around.
Because I used to try harder in
Yeah,
high school.
I
but,
didn't
like,
care in high school at all.
But now you're the one like who gives
Yeah,
more effort.
I definitely, yeah. For self-discipline, like basically what we just said, I gave myself a 14, and I gave you a 13.
Yeah, I'd say we're both disciplined and like try our hardest.
Yeah. If I'm comparing myself from high school and freshman year of college to now, I think my score would be lower, but I think like things have turned around since like junior year.
Yeah.
I think it's because of like I'm about to be done with school. Like we're about to be done with school,
It's
and
the
like
real life now.
yeah, after graduation, we don't know what's to come, and like we're worried about our future, I would say.